Welcome, everybody, to the Channel Vision Magazine webinar featuring Crexendo, along with TeamMate Technology. Together, they will share with us how to leverage Microsoft Teams for cloud communications. I'm your moderator, Bruce Christian, Senior Editor of Channel Vision Magazine. Our presenters are Crexendo's Chief Revenue Officer, John Britton, and joining John will be TeamMate Technology CEO, Eric Hernandez. And with that, I turn it over to John Britton.
Great, thank you, Bruce, and appreciate Channel Vision hosting the webinar today. And I will give you a shameless plug for the event in November. We look forward to seeing a lot of people in the community at that event coming up. And if you're joining today, you may be potentially an end customer, you may be a channel partner, someone who's just has an interest in the topic. And I want to guarantee you that Eric and I have content for all of you within the context of our webinar. So we appreciate you being here with us today. So the topic is about leveraging Microsoft Teams for part of a business cloud communication strategy. And, you know, I think why this is of interest and why we have so many registrants and attendees today is the fact that the use of Teams became obviously so prevalent over the last 2 to 3 years. And you can see that, you know, 270 million monthly active users. Now, a lot of those people may be kind of transient users that are join a meeting or two or use it very casually. But a lot of folks spend a good part of their working day actually interacting with peers and others, leveraging Microsoft Teams because it is so prevalent. It's deployed on so many desktops and it's an easy to access tool. The opportunity that is out there is that most of those Teams clients don't have a calling plan or ability to connect to the public switch telephone network or to be leveraged as a telecommunications endpoint, basically, to make and receive calls and reach out to people outside of your organization. And that's really what Eric and I are going to talk through today is what are the options, knowing that Teams is there, it's so prevalent, it has such a large user base, and how can an organization that's interested leverage that as part of their communication strategy? So I don't know, Eric, you're in this every day. Is there anything else you want to add on just the prevalence and availability of Teams?
Well, I guess just to put the numbers in a little bit of context, so 270 million plus that have Teams installed. As the graphic shows, about 80 million of them have the phone system license, which means that they can use Teams to make calls if they wanted to, if they configured it to and from the PSTN. And only 10 to 20% of them have actually done that. So the actual number of people that have actually used Teams or configured Teams to make calls to the PSTN is relatively small compared to the whole number. But, you know, if you look at that number and say compare it to RingCentral, which has about 5 million users, it's still a heck of a lot of people that you know, are using Teams in this way. So, but relative to the total number of users, there's quite a bit of opportunity within those users.
So what are the Microsoft Centric options then for connecting to the public phone network and basically turning your Microsoft software into your business communications plan?
So I think the reason we have so many attendees in this webinar, John, is because you know, and a good part of our audience are service providers, is that a lot of people are talking about Microsoft Teams and how you know, you can use it to make phone calls, perhaps. And you know, if you get that question, it helps to understand, you know, what is out there in the Microsoft universe and how can I possibly fit in. So there's really 3 options if you're a service provider, and your customer asks you about Microsoft's phone system. The first is that the end customer can just go ahead and buy Microsoft phone system with a calling plan from Microsoft. That means that they can use the Microsoft Teams to make and make calls and receive calls from the PSTN, and they're paying Microsoft for everything. Not the best option in my opinion, but it's an option. The next option is that you can use direct routing, and direct routing is the capability in Microsoft phone system that lets you connect to external systems. So it lets you connect to the PSTN or to your Crexendo platform. So you can use that with Teams for calling. But the third option is really what we consider to be the best option, and that's that you leverage Teams and really integrate it with your calling platform. And in that way, you give you get to experience the best of both worlds, because you can really use Teams and all of the features that are built into Teams, and we'll get into that in a couple slides, along with all of the features that you're used to in your phone system, in your Crexendo platform, for example.
Great. So let's break down the first one of those. This is the Microsoft phone system. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, so what I want to make clear in this slide is that there's really two things that we're talking about. Microsoft phone system is the business phone system that Microsoft is selling, and they would like you to replace your existing phone system with their phone system. Now, to do that, you need the right licenses, and Microsoft licenses are a little bit complex, but we'll try and break it down here. So if you want to use Microsoft as your complete phone system, they include that with their highest level licenses, what they call their E5 and G5 licenses. But you can add on the phone system license to all the other Microsoft licenses. So typically that's an $8 add-on that you would pay to be able to use Microsoft as your phone system. And then of course, if you also wanted to use them for the calling plan, the price varies. It's typically prepaid per minute. But all of that is kind of separate from Teams in and of itself, because Teams is the software that you use to access the Microsoft phone system. But the important point that I'd like to make on this slide is that it's separate, and you can kind of carve the Teams piece away and use it with your own phone platform. You don't have to use it with the Microsoft phone system.
Got it. So to kind of cover it the way that we think about it in our business is that the Teams is actually the application interface, or it's the app that you would use on your desktop or mobile device in order to access the Microsoft phone system. But the rest of what's described on this slide kind of sits underneath that, and it's separate from that. So you can actually kind of take the Teams app and use it in other ways that maybe better suit your business needs.
Yes, exactly. Although it should be noted that in order to use that Teams app with the Crexendo platform, for example, you still have to pay that $8 phone system license. Sure. So even though you can separate it, you can't necessarily escape the Microsoft licensing fee. But we're going to be talking a little bit about an option for that later on. Anyway, so this slide talks about why you might want to use Teams to integrate with your calling platform separate from the Microsoft phone system. And I like to say that Microsoft has built the best soft phone, and not to say anything negative about other soft phones that are out there in the market, but you do have Microsoft has spent billions of dollars on Teams, and they've come up with a pretty nice application. And so these are just some of the points that I like to talk about. Number one is its ubiquity. Everybody has it, and even if somebody has only downloaded it once to join a couple meetings here and there, it's still typically on their PC or on their phone, and so it's there. So if you wanted to leverage it with your own platform, it's not about making somebody go and download a new piece of software. Then, of course, it's integrated with all the Microsoft collaboration tools, so messaging and video, and that's typically how people use it in an organization is to collaborate with their with their colleagues and hold meetings such as the one we're having now. But it's all in one application, so that makes it pretty useful. Of course, the fact that Microsoft has PSTN enabled it by allowing it to reach at the outside world with direct routing makes it possible to integrate it with other platforms. So of course, that's a big benefit. And then we have the fact that it's an open platform that anybody can write an app for, and hundreds, if not thousands, of developers have created apps that can live and work inside Teams. So it just adds to and enhances the utility of it. But then, more specific to what we're talking about, the soft phone capabilities inside Teams are really great. For a couple reasons. Number one is the fact that Microsoft has gone to great lengths to make sure that it runs pretty well on all the different platforms. So whether you're running it on a PC or a Mac or an Android mobile device or an Apple mobile device, it more or less works the same way, and it works well in all those environments. In addition, though, they've also, because of their scale, they've solved a lot of the problems that you might typically run into if you were running some other type of soft phone in those environments, especially in the mobile world. So I like to say it makes a fantastic soft phone, especially on your mobile device. And then the last benefit is the organizational and IT management. Typically, if you're a service provider and you're deploying soft phones to larger organizations, it can be a challenge to get the IT organization to work with you and to get that software, your software, whatever that software happens to be, onto every desktop, and what's the deployment model. And of course, everybody typically knows how to deploy Microsoft, and so that challenge goes away. So all in all, considering all those things, it makes a lot of sense, in my opinion, to leverage Teams as the soft phone component for whatever phone system you happen to be using, but most especially the Crexendo platform, because of all the things that we've done to integrate them, which I'll talk about in a moment.
Great. So let's kind of, if you look at the reasons why, which you've kind of talked to so far, that people might want to switch to Microsoft phone system, once you can summarize this and then just explain what it is, because it is getting to that simplified vendor management, although we know what some of the shortcomings of that can be. But what are the key drivers you see in customers' experience?
Well, this is an interesting slide because it looks at it from a slightly different way. Typically when somebody brings up the idea of using Teams as their phone system, it's not clear whether they're talking about, well, they want to use the whole phone system, or they just like the Teams client and so would like that to be their access to making calls to the PSTN. But it's interesting, if you look at the main reasons that people deploy Microsoft phone systems, and this is the result of a survey that was done, it's these 5 reasons. Integration with other Microsoft products, which we talked about; user experience, of course, which we also touched on; the security and compliance aspect, being able to manage the users and the deployment. And then you have reduced costs. So for those organizations that are paying for the top level Microsoft licenses, the E5 and the G5 licenses, I guess you could say that the cost is reduced because they include the phone system with that license, although it's, as we saw on that first slide, it's a relatively small subset of the Microsoft population that does have those licenses already. And then the last reason is that having a single vendor for your IT, for your Microsoft and your phone system, perhaps reduces some complexity. But what's interesting to me is that the top 3 reasons are really talking about the Teams client and not the whole phone system, right? It's the user experience, it's the customer experience, right, that has gone into developing Teams and how you can integrate it with your other tools that you use in your daily work life and in your collaboration. So it's really the Teams client that is what's special about Microsoft phone system.
Yep, that's a good delineation because they do have complex products, and it's important for our audience to understand, what is contained within the Microsoft phone system, what really comes as part of Teams, and then how, you can leverage the best things of that in your overall deployment strategy. Because I think that, if we're looking at just, people on laptops or mobile devices wanting to use a client, that's the knowledge worker type of office worker that's really just in front of their computers all day. That's one subset of users. What we found is, when companies go down this path, a lot of times they realize that, one, you have a diverse population that wants to use different tools or different ways to interact with your technology. I mean, I'm obviously a poorly lit WeWork, facility today for our webinar, and you're on the road, so a mobile client does come in very handy for that. But there are other workers that maybe want a different use case experience at their desk. So the ability to integrate into a broad array of traditional desk phones and things like that to reach part of a company's population. And then the other thing besides the user experience is that, within the broader business communications platforms, communications has developed over time to where there's a tremendous amount of things besides the ability to make and receive phone calls that is inherent within the phone system itself. So when you look at larger organizations, multi-level auto attendants, hunt groups, PSTN call recording and reporting, we even have the ability in our platform to see the call quality on each leg of a call. So the mean opinion score is what we call it in the industry for any calls or any interactions that employees have. That reporting's baked in. Another thing is an area that is huge growth today for many brands is just focusing on what is the customer experience that we're delivering to, our customers that we do business with. So you'll hear us talk frequently about omni-channel contact center features. So the ability to support people over whatever interaction type that they would like to, whether that's SMS to support your customers for voice services, SMS, email, web chat, things like that. That's often built into a company's business communications platform also. And it's a critical investment area that CIOs are interested in. And then there is a legacy estate. I mean, if this was a new form of communications that companies didn't have investment in, there weren't a lot of property, plant, and facilities that maybe weren't up to the latest specs. The ability to have a phone system that integrates into some of your legacy technologies that you have, like paging systems, door buzzers, things of that nature, just being able to bring all that together. So there's a difference between the one-to-one communication and being able to kind of make and receive phone calls, and the robust feature set that customers get from a true enterprise-grade cloud communications platform that can be missing if it's a Microsoft-only answer. And then the other thing is, obviously, there has been some publicity lately, I think twice so far this year, about outages or disruptions with Teams. Within the service level agreement that's published, if you go with the pure Microsoft plan, so to speak, they're currently offering a 3.9 level SLA to customers, and only under certain conditions, as opposed to 4.5.9, or in the Crexendo case, we offer our customers 100% uptime guarantee. So that reliability is an ability to always be there and be available is also impacted. So I think that there's a lot of areas that, absent a really robust platform, that cloud-based platform that you can integrate into. And that's what the approach that, we find so often is that there may be a group of users within a customer who are truly only Teams users. But then when you get to the broad population, you've got several different use cases for how people do their jobs every day, including deep integrations into other vertical type of applications with their business communications platform, that when you look at the organization holistically, you can't achieve all of those things with this, with a purist approach to this. So that's one of the things that we look at as some differentiation overall, and things that buyers will want to consider, customers want to consider.
Absolutely. Those are all good points. And one thing I might add that you didn't mention is just the ability to get support. I've heard this any number of times that, when something doesn't work quite right with Microsoft phone system, it's not always so easy to just pick up the phone and call them and get your question answered. It's typically opening a ticket and then waiting a number of hours or even days to get a reply.
Yep, good point.
Yeah. But so that brings us into our next slide, though. Assuming that you buy the premise that Teams is the Teams app itself as an endpoint is something that is useful and you'd want to incorporate into your own calling service or your own platform. How do you do it? And the TeamMate PBX connector is the answer to that. So this is our primary product, the one that we've partnered with Crexendo on. And what it does is it converts the Teams client into a SIP phone, and a SIP soft phone. And when I say that, I mean that in every sense of the word. It allows you to register as an individual SIP identity, an individual extension, as a specific Teams user. So that means you get all of the features of your Crexendo platform or any SIP compatible platform, but specifically Crexendo. And it's different. I just want to point out from the direct routing that is available out of the box, if you will, with Microsoft, because what direct routing is it's a SIP trunk that you can build to from Microsoft phone system to some other platform. Big difference between a SIP trunk, which is a shared pipe, if you will, that many users can share, can make calls over, versus an individual SIP registration, which allows you to have user-based features, things like message waiting and presence and being part of a call queue and being treated individually within that call queue. All of these things are not possible unless you have individual registration. So anyway, that's the main problem that we sought out to solve with the TeamMate PBX connector, was to turn Teams into a super SIP soft phone. And
sure. So it's sorry to interrupt you, but I would say kind of a way to sum that up is, if you think of the direct routing, that's really about connectivity, about the ability to just connect and receive calls. And I think the way that you guys have structured this, it's more about capability. And you not only get the connectivity, but you have the capability to really integrate this into a much broader business communication strategy. So it gives you a lot more flexibility in how you choose to deploy the Teams integration.
Absolutely. And then around that, we've built this orchestration layer. So, the base capabilities that you can register Teams as a soft phone, but being able to manage that as a service and, support a group of users from, tens to thousands is difficult. And so we've built the tools into our platform that lets you do that. And what that really means is that we've fully automated all the stuff that has to happen inside Microsoft to set this up, right? Typically, if you wanted to set up direct routing in Microsoft, you have to know PowerShell and you have to use the Graph API, but I think that's all built into our orchestrator. Next is the integration. So inside the TeamMate PBX connector is the ability to deploy a branded app to the end user. And that app gives you connections to other Office tools. So for example, when you start a call or when you receive a call, you can get a call card pop up, and that call card allows you to interact with other Microsoft systems. So you can save that caller's name to your Outlook contacts, or you can schedule a follow-up meeting with the person you're on the phone with a pre-populated form that goes into an Outlook meeting, and several other things that allow you to really merge the user experience within Teams with, the calling experience. And then lastly, but certainly most importantly, I think for the purpose of this call is we've really gone to great lengths to integrate Teams with Crexendo's NetSapiens platform. So a lot of things that you might have to do manually with other SIP platforms are just built in with Crexendo's NetSapiens platform. So for example, when you create a user inside of the TeamMate environment, we automatically go out and through the NetSapiens API, map that user to allow you to map that user to an existing user within your NetSapiens domain. So really taking the act of the individual steps that might be needed and compressing them down to just a couple. And then lastly, we allow you to embed the NetSapiens end user portal inside of Teams. So within Teams, you can just click a button, which you control where that button lives and what it says. But when you click that button, it actually opens up your end user portal directly within Teams, and really makes for a nice blend of the power of the NetSapiens portal, still within the Teams environment. So you never have to leave your Teams client.
Good. That's very good. And that's probably a good point for for any of our attendees that don't know more about Crexendo. As Eric has mentioned, we have the NetSapiens platform as our underlying UCaaS, or Unified Communications as a Service technology. That platform serves almost 3 million users globally. We deploy it. There's about 200 service providers that actually have built their UCaaS offer on the NetSapiens platform, and it's available globally through various partners throughout the world. We'll feature a few of those partners in an upcoming slide. And then at Crexendo, we also have our own direct-to-customer, we call it the VIP platform. That stands for Video, Interactions, and Phone. And so what we've done is we've taken this TeamMate connector and the technology that Eric's organization has really built and perfected, and we've integrated that into our VIP platform, understanding there are some users that, really want to live in that Teams environment because of the benefits of the application that Eric talked about. But a lot of organizations need a significant amount of additional capabilities in the communications platform that's going to run their organization. So we've taken the TeamMate technology integration into Teams. We've actually bundled that into 2 of our Crexendo VIP profiles. So our platforms mix and match, knowing that not everybody works the same way. You can blend user types across an organization. If you have mobile-only workers, we've got a mobile-only type of user. If you have power users that want to be able to connect through various mechanisms, desk phones, things like that, they can do that. But we've actually taken the Teams integration and we bundled it into our advanced and elite user profiles. And so what happens is, if you think about, I'm a user, Teams becomes another extension that's assigned to me. So if I'm in the office or working in a certain mode or whatever, I want to use that as my primary device, I can actually do that. But if I have other, type modalities, we call it, or ways that I prefer to work, I can change that, or I can have my calls and contacts actually ring on multiple endpoints or devices, Teams being one of them, a desk phone being another. But what allows you to do is really leverage that broader feature set in the way that you want to have it work, have it seamlessly integrate with the Teams application, as Eric talked about. It's basically a button supporting single sign-on, and really also allows you to have other users. If you have call center users or contact center agents, there's a user type that's more tailored to them. And if you do or don't want that Teams integration for those different types of users, that's a decision the end customer makes. It's not a decision that we're making for you. So trying to have a robust capability to combine the VIP integration with Teams, with other device options, desktop device options, about the broadest open SIP phone portfolio, supporting over a couple hundred devices on our platform that you can bring a device, plug it in, and have it work. Mobile devices. So to really give the customers the full benefit of a robust communication system where they can still have Teams be an integral part of that, but for the users that it makes the most sense for. And we back it with what we call our Crexendo 100% uptime guarantee. So there's no nines in our SLA. That's you know, in the way that we deploy it, we guarantee availability for all customers at all times. So it's the way to really get and leverage, as Eric had talked about earlier, the best of both worlds. And then if you have team specific users that know this is how they want to connect, this group in our organization, they just want to leverage Teams because they love that client and they've got it on their desktop device, they have it on their mobile device, so it kind of fits how they work. We actually have a Crexendo VIP platform Teams user as well that can be kind of mixed and matched with you know, our other user types. But again, you can support somebody that if that's the route that they want to go on, and obviously it's dependent on the Microsoft licensing that they've got, but you can have those users get that benefit, and that's how they use their business communications tools. But you can have other users that have other options. So it's a you know, best of both worlds as far as how people are able to deploy it. And I think we wanted to cover one more thing before we got to the demo, Eric, is just, you talked a little bit about the licensing. This is just a simplified map to show people. So do you want to kind of talk us through what these bundles are so that our audience can understand that?
Sure. This is a good segue into the demo. So this is what the software licensing requirements look like to use, or what they do look like if you wanted to add voice to Microsoft Teams. And then again, what that is really doing today is you're buying the phone system capability with whatever Microsoft license you have. So on the bottom here, on the left, you'll see the E5, and it's actually E5 or G5, which is the government top level license. And if you have that license, then you don't have to do anything. It includes Teams and the phone system license. And you know, so that can be used to register directly with TeamMate, of course, to the Crexendo platform through our integration. If you don't have the E5 license, let's say you have E1 or E3 or one of the various Microsoft 365 business licenses, and there's a number of them, well, then you typically have to buy the Microsoft phone system license in order to get that calling capability. And generally that's the $8 license that I spoke to. The reason we bring this slide up now, though, is because TeamMate has just released a pretty exciting new feature to our app. And it actually went into beta on Monday this week, which allows you to make phone calls from Teams without the phone system license. So this is pretty huge. You know, throughout our history, the need for that $8 phone system license has always been an impediment. You know, clients say, yeah, we like Teams. We'd like to use that as our soft phone, but paying an extra $8 just to get that capability doesn't make sense. Well, now you can get the benefits of that soft phone that's built into Teams without paying that $8. So at TeamMate, we call this our Valet app, and as I mentioned, we just released it this week, so it's available for testing. And I actually can give you a demo. Now, this is always doing a live demo with hundreds of people is a little nerve-wracking, but I'm just going to go for it. Okay, so you should be seeing my screen now.
Yes.
And what we have here is I'm running Teams inside a browser. And so this is a Teams user. It's a test Teams user within the TeamMate organization that does not have the phone system license. And you can tell that because when you go to the calls icon that's on the side of Teams, if you have that phone system license, you will always have a keypad here, and that's what allows you to dial. Now, without the phone system license, you can still make calls to other users within your organization. You can call another Teams user, but you can't call a phone number, you can't call an extension. And so that's the primary distinction. What we've done, however, is we've built an app, and you'll see it's pinned here to the left-hand side, and that really becomes your dialer. This is what allows you to control the phone system and actually make calls. So with this dialer, you can control the Teams soft phone. So if I were to, and I will do that, if I dial a number here, what's going to happen is we're using something called Azure Communication Services to instruct Teams to place a call to through the Crexendo platform and connect it to the Teams soft phone. So this is a very early version. I think it's fantastic, but it's only going to get better. But you'll notice on the left-hand side is the dial pad. This number at the bottom is the number that's associated with this registration. And this little green check mark here means that it's registered. So it's actually registered as a SIP extension on our Crexendo calling platform. Over here on the right, you have contacts. So these are all Outlook contacts right now. And because this is a test user, it's not my actual contacts, but you'll see the Outlook contacts here. And you can also have organizational contacts. So there are a number of different types of contacts in the Microsoft world, but you'll be able to manage and connect to them through this interface.
Oop, lost your audio. There you go. You're back.
Yep. Yeah, somebody was calling me.
That's right.
Unexpected. And then lastly, we have the call history here. So this call shows your inbound and outbound calls. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually this is my cell phone here, and anybody who wants to call or text me, you have my cell phone number now. But I'm going to click call, and what it's going to do is it's going to call my cell phone, which I'm holding right here. So you'll see it says, please wait while we're starting the call. Yep. So I don't know if you were able to hear that, but it connected to my cell phone voicemail. And basically, I was able to make that call. What you saw here was the native Teams client. So unlike some other platforms, what they do is they do what's called a cross launch, where you can actually, from a Teams application, you can control another application that's running on your PC. That's not that. That's not this. This is actually controlling the Teams soft phone itself.
The benefit to this one is it removes that burden of that one additional Microsoft license. And I know I've said before, I don't think I don't know of anybody that gets out of bed in the morning wanting to buy one more thing for Microsoft. So what you've done for the business community and the audience is you've relieved the requirement that they have that additional license in order to enable the device, right?
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. And then it's good to know that it works, because we got to see you get an inbound phone call as well. So
that's right. Yeah,
that's when it's a plus. They always say you shut those things down for this type of event, but in that case, you had to use it. So we know it's actually working.
I guess it was somebody who saw the phone number and decided to dial it.
That's right.
Thank you. Thanks for your help.
That's right. Thank you to the audience. So we talked a little bit about the fact that our NetSapiens platform powers over 200 service providers globally. And these are some of our platform partners that you can actually get this bundle of the best of the both worlds from, with your Teams integration, as well as the full robustness of our underlying NetSapiens platform. So you may know some of these brands and some of these companies. We have a lot of great partners, and these are some of those that make this specific technology integration available to their end users. And then also, if you want to, find out more, about the topic, that we're going to go through some Q&A with Bruce and the guys here in a minute. But if you want to find out more about today's topic or either of our companies, if you're an end customer on the left side of the screen and you're interested in finding out more about our Crexendo VIP platform, there's how to reach us at the right side of the screen. If you're a service provider or an MSP, and then you're interested in how do I deploy this platform because I think it would meet the needs of my customers. That's the right side of the screen. In the TeamMate spot in the middle there, if you actually want to be able to trial the software that Eric showed you and the product that's there, there's a link there to sign up for a free trial as well. So, you know, we give you multiple follow-up and contact options. Obviously, reach out to myself or Eric on LinkedIn or elsewhere as well if you want to find out more information. But Bruce, Brady, we have some questions.
Yes, we do. We've got a ton of questions. And so I'm going to caution attendees that if we don't get to all of them, I can assure you that John will get a list of all the questions, and I'm sure he'll follow up if we're unable to get to them within the next few minutes. I think one of the pressing questions, though, is the discussion of the $8 license fee. Is that just $8 or is it per user?
So typically, it's $8 per user. So if you don't have the E5 or G5 base license, then you're adding on the phone system license to whatever user, whatever license you do have. And, you know, I use that $8 at shorthand. It could be different depending on your particular license structure with Microsoft, but it is an extra cost. That is, of course, until the Valet app. So the Valet app does allow you to avoid that $8 extra license.
And again, just so the audience understands, that is a Microsoft fee that they're charging in their license structure. Their license structure is probably now far more simplified than it's been for historically, but that's still kind of complex. And so you're adding that incremental license with them. And then if you want to add the direct routing or the calling plan or the things of that nature, that's an additional cost on top of that. So that's where, you know, so if you're not dead set on the Teams integration, the costs associated with those two items are probably similar to what you'd pay to somebody like Crexendo or one of our service providers to leverage our platform. But if you do want to obviously leverage the Microsoft Teams because it's there, you just understand that within their structure, you've got those additional costs.
Okay, that sounds good. One of the major concerns in the industry today is obviously security. And one of the top 5 reasons for switching to the Microsoft phone system was security and compliance. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that security that's provided with Teams and how it works both on premises and as well as mobile.
So I could start there. So from a soft phone perspective, I mean, obviously there are a ton of issues around security when it comes to software that's running, you know, in your organization on your employees' machines. But if we're looking specifically at the soft phone portion of it, what that typically means is that you have a secure connection between the Microsoft Cloud and your phone platform. And that's accomplished with something called TCP and TLS. It's basically an encrypted tunnel that carries the voice and signaling of that call to your calling platform. And so TeamMate supports that completely. Now, once it gets to your platform, that brings up the security within your platform, and John might be able to speak about that briefly.
Yeah, and I would say we use the same, these are industry standard technologies within our platform. We have the same type of encryption and security as it relates to the transit of data, what we call data in flight and data at rest. So to be able to kind of tie that security bundle up for end customers, just understand that between the components that are here, the NetSapiens platform, the TeamMate technology connector, and then Microsoft software, it's giving reliable, secure communications that meet the standards that obviously, all organizations should adopt and many organizations require.
Okay. Next question. What are options if I want to use Teams, but also leverage other cloud communications options such as we're doing today to better meet the needs of my organization?
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
Well, so from a TeamMate perspective, what we've done is we've created this infrastructure that allows you to register a Teams user to any SIP compatible calling platform. So it doesn't matter what it is. Of course, one of the benefits of using Crexendo is that we've integrated tightly with Crexendo. So there's some things you get, when you're using the Crexendo platform that you won't be able to do on other platforms. But really, our expertise is in the SIP interoperability of the platforms, and so we can generally make it work so that no matter what platform you're on, as long as it's a SIP platform, you can get the benefits of Teams as a soft phone.
Yeah, and then specifically within our Crexendo's Net Sapiens platform, that is one of the real core benefits, is that we give you the flexibility that if you have, larger organizations or even in medium-sized companies, you have workers that do different tasks every day. You may be in a vertical where you've got a vertical specific CRM software that you use. So, we give you the capability that for those employees, you can have an integration into your customer relationship management platform and be able to have customer records populate when they call in, screen pops, call logging, the ability sometimes to store data relatively easily in your CRM for that group of workers. If you've got a different group of workers that are primarily, in the office support, desk phone type of people or things like that, you can have those capabilities for them. If you've got a customer support area where you've got a contact center or call center and you're taking voice calls and also maybe doing web chat or other types of email support, things like that, those users can have those tools. The key is you're all within one platform, as Eric had said. They really make the integration with Teams for those users as if it's just another device on the system. So you can see somebody's presence. Are they on a call? Are they in a meeting? Are they busy? Are they available before you transfer calls to them? You can do things we call a assisted transfer, where you can announce a caller before you hand them off. So there's a tight level of integration that what I say is it gives you the ability for each group of workers to give them the tools that that's going to help them to be the most effective within the way they work. And the two big themes for our company are really focusing on helping our customers deliver a better employee experience, giving their employees the tools that they need to work in, regardless of whatever group they're in at the right time, and then helping our customers deliver a great customer experience to their end customers. And so that's what I love about this capability, is that for people that want to just leverage that Teams environment, have at it. But that doesn't mean everybody, it's not a one size fits all, customer deployment. Everybody in the company doesn't have to do that. And you can deploy based on the needs of the specific groups that you're working with within your organization.
Okay, that's a great answer. You spent quite a bit of time talking about the licensing, and Microsoft's licensing can be complex. So what does the audience need to know about that?
I think that's the most succinct statement possible, that it can be complex. I'm certainly not a Microsoft licensing expert, and we don't sell the Microsoft licenses, but we know it works, and so I don't think we have enough time to delve into the specifics myself.
Right. Another reason why it's good to have multiple vendors in your estate, so you don't get too dependent on one.
Okay, that sounds good. All right. So with all of this discussion we've had so far, and we're almost at an hour almost. So what are the biggest benefits of leveraging Teams for UCaaS?
I'll take that. So I think the biggest benefit is that, again, you get the best of both worlds. For users that are accustomed to working inside teams throughout the day for their collaboration with colleagues and using chat and all the other tools that are inside teams, to also be able to interact with the outside world through your phone system, also without leaving teams, is the benefit, right? It's one about the customer experience, just having the best experience. And then, of course, built into that is the fact that Teams just runs in a number of different places, pretty well, so that you can use it no matter where you are.
Yeah, and I would add to that, Bruce. It is really about, if you've got, there are some folks that in their workday, because you've got the one-to-one messaging, persistent messaging in Teams, the ability to have so many groups, video meetings, and things like that, they'll spend a lot of time in that application, and so this gives them the ability to enable that application as part of a comprehensive business communication strategy or platform, to where, for that audience within your company, you can give them that tool if that's what they prefer to have. There's other jobs, things that people do, frontline workers, field service workers, things like that, that's probably not a reality for them, that they're, leveraging the Teams application to that extent. So with this combination of TeamMate and Crexendo's NetSapiens platform, you're able to accommodate those different groups of workers. And I think that's the point. It's being able to have this as part of your strategy, being able to have it available to employees or customers that, in the way that they want to interact and use it. But also leveraging all those additional tools that come out of just a well-developed unified communications as a service offering and platform that's been in the market and been available for a long time, and it has some advanced capabilities. So it is really about putting those two things together, and really a smart, sensible strategy for end customers.
Okay, let's take the reverse. Let's take the reverse of that and discuss the biggest risks and downfalls of using Teams for telephony-based communications.
Kind of what we talked about a little bit. We had that one slide that did talk about the things that you can't do natively in a Microsoft only strategy, and you're not getting to the same level of overall SLA. You're not getting the ability to leverage a broader array of devices that you might want to use in addition to just the Teams calling client, and you're kind of getting locked in on a single pane of glass type of experience. And it just gets to be if you take a look at the needs of the entire business population that a company's trying to serve, does that Microsoft only strategy meet all of their needs? And I would say, besides, a lot of IT organizations like to try to get to fewer vendors, and they might, for that reason, they might think it's a better approach for them. I don't think, when you look at the needs of all of the community of workers that you've got and the way people do their job every day, that sole source kind of deployment in this case is the best answer.
Okay. Because we are coming up on the hour, I'm going to ask one more question. And John, I'm going to make you commit to responding to the rest of these questions. We'll send them to you after we sign off, so Absolutely. That you can have them. Okay. Thank you. So our last question right now will be, for this integration, how is call control handled from headset devices?
Oh, that's a good question. So Eric, do you want to talk about within TeamMate?
So really, it's the question is, how does the headset work with Teams? So as long as the headset has been designed to work with Teams, it works exactly the same ways, because the headset is really just extending the controls that you would typically have in the Teams interface to the headset. And so the answer would be dependent on the type of headset, of course, but it works generally.
Yeah, and I mean, we're both Bluetooth, I think, onto the session today with our headphones and headset. And I actually use the same if I'm in the Teams environment, using that for calling. If I'm in our web phone or a web client or on my mobile device, I have the same device. And we support a broad array of manufacturers. One thing about Crexendo's NetSapiens platform is that if you look at the list of devices that we support, we've got a tremendous list of a broad base of manufacturers that are in the platform, easy to deploy and connect. If you've got a modern headset Bluetooth device and you're using your Teams client or you're using our client, you're not going to have any issue using that as well. So that's one of the things that I like, is that, you know, having that option gives you, we can give you ultimately more options for devices and different use cases for devices with the combined strategy that we've been talking about today, whether it's headsets, conference phones, desk phones, or whatever it may be.
Okay, that sounds great. And for right now, that's about going to do it for this webinar. So we want to thank Crexendo's Chief Revenue Officer, John Britton, and TeamMate Technology CEO, Eric Hernandez, for a terrific presentation. It really was very informative. I want to thank you both very, very much for your time.
Yep. Thank you, Bruce and team. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
And now from all of us at Channel Vision Magazine and from all our friends at Crexendo, thanks for attending. Have a safe and prosperous day.
Thank you, team. Bye now.